What's up, y'all? My name is Dhati Lewis, lead pastor of Blueprint Church. I am here we have a special guest today. And we have Steve. Steve, he's a regular. He's always here. But we got another one. Why don't you introduce yourself, Todd?
My name's Todd Ginneman, lead pastor of Apostles Church in St. Louis, Missouri.
Yeah, I mean, you fit right in with beards, theology, and reconciliation, and you are obviously still rocking a beard.
Yeah,
I think I'm the only one that does not have a beard.
Oh, he shaved it last year, though. I do remember you shaving it. Yeah,
I've trimmed it off before.
I mean, you kind of look like Jorge, though. I mean, I don't know if that side profile still.
Jorge's out, so y'all just keep Jorge in your prayers, y'all. He's out just this podcast, but we look forward to getting him back.
Yeah.
It'll come in eventually, man.
Yeah. It'll come in.
Yeah.
All right. As we're thinking about this idea of disciple making in the city, I mean, I was just kind of thinking about I want to ask you guys a question. We're gonna start off a little different.
All right.
Player coaches. Who is the best player coach? Literally, floor general. Like there was a coach as they were playing. Let's go basketball, football, baseball,
player coach. I don't know any player coaches in way.
Well,
I guess somebody who's managing
the game
while they're playing.
They're like an extension on the coach. The coach.
I'll go first. So you can have some time to pray on it.
Yeah. Are you going with somebody in St. Louis?
Oh no.
Okay.
We don't have no teams anymore.
Well, I'm
taking all the teams.
I don't want that anymore.
Peyton Manning.
Okay.
Peyton Manning.
Why?
Yeah.
Why Peyton Manning?
He got the big brain. And 5-6 years into playing in the league, he was not only just making the plays, but he was also deciding them. He's able to read defenses really well, know what's coming at him, and know the assets he had too to tell them where to go to make the plays.
I'm buying. Okay. What about you? Do you have somebody who?
I'm gonna go with myself.
Yourself. Okay.
I played basketball pretty competitively up to 8th grade.
Okay.
So I felt like I had everything that my team needed at the time in which we needed. So I felt good when I was in the game.
You felt good? Did the coach feel good?
And I felt like I gave a calming presence to people that were on my team. So I'm gonna go with myself.
Okay. Good. All right. So we got Peyton Manning. We got yourself. Yeah. I'm gonna go with Magic. Again, it's been a few weeks.
Not a shock.
Well, I mean, it's been a few weeks now, and I'm still giddy over Lakers.
Got Paul George
bringing back. Man,
oh, you do. I'm hoping y'all get Paul George.
But okay. Well, I guess one of the things that I'll say Magic is because he was a floor general, and not only he redefined point guard in the NBA. And then what I loved about him is that he was willing to do any of them, any position. I mean, everyone is well documented. He played center in the finals. And he was still, as a rookie, he had that natural, and I think we're going to have that same type of success, as he takes on president of basketball operations for the Lakers. I don't think I can say that enough. President of basketball operations.
Brooke Lopez, Paul George. If you do that, then I think,
all right.
I think they're gonna be all right. I don't believe in a slow transition of power.
No, I definitely. Everybody's talking about patience. I'm not looking for patience.
Not gonna happen.
I'm looking
it's
for
LA.
Now.
It's LA.
Right.
It's LA.
Okay. Well, I mean, and this kind of leads into our topic, this idea of disciple making in the city, because a lot of times we think that disciples, the true disciplers, are kind of the professional Christians, pastors, missionaries, full-time, people, but the Bible is clear, and it says it's the Great Commission. Go therefore, make disciples of all nations. I mean, even when Jesus' original call, which we see in this next movement, is that follow me and you will become fishers of men. Yep. Do you think that call was just to leaders?
No.
It was a call to everybody who's following him.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Is that the goal is to become fishers of men, but it seems like we have made this kind of that's coach speak, or that's something for everyone else to be a part and do that's professional. But if I'm just kind of like a regular, plumber or someone who works at the grocery store or whatever, that's not a call for me because I didn't go to seminary. I didn't do my thing. I mean, why do you feel like people, they kind of clip out of disciple making as a part of a responsibility that they are supposed to embrace?
Well, I think it's a good question. I think growing up, I don't distinctly remember the language of kind of discipleship. I mean, obviously there were things that the church in which I grew up, which I became a Christian in, did that was discipleship oriented, but I don't remember the term discipleship. I don't remember, the kind of the call to reach and to reproduce. I do remember that one of kind of the most distinct influences in my Christian journey when I first was reading the New Testament. And I remember reading the New Testament and reading some of those scriptures that you've talked about, and then reading through the book of Acts. And this was just something that I wish that I could have said, like I was in a church and it was the first time that I heard it. But a lot of times I remember reading the New Testament and saying like, oh, I'm supposed to share this with somebody. And as a result of what God's teaching me, I should teach them.
Yeah.
But it wasn't something that was a part of just kind of my normal Christian rhythm. I think probably until I got kind of seminary was probably a place where I began to see that discipleship it's a normative kind of practice for the life of a Christian.
I feel like when you make discipleship a calling for the spiritual elite, and not the everyday person, it removes the adventure or excitement from Christianity.
Yeah.
When it's just about growing in knowledge of Jesus or growing in my emotional connection to Jesus, but not growing in obedience to the Great Commission. When I began to really be challenged by really from podcasts, I started listening to podcast preachers calling me out of my kind of Christian slumber and into the mission field. And that's when things started to get exciting. Really had to depend on the presence of the Holy Spirit, the power of God, and meet people that were very different from me, which led to a lot more growth even in my own personal discipleship. And so
no, that's what's up, and I think that's important. And in the very calling of this movement, Jesus again said, follow me and I will make you become fishers of men. In that passage you see two things, and when I talk about framing disciple making, it comes to kind of those two parts of inviting people into relationships and challenging them to change. Right. And so really disciple making, the framework of disciple making is inviting and challenging, right? And I think we either go on one end or the other. So it's kind of like, relational evangelism is just like all inviting, right, but no challenging. Or you got those people, kind of the street preachers, all challenging and no inviting. And so when we talk about this call to go and become fishers of men, it's one and the same. Inviting into relationship and challenging them to change. And so when we see in Galatians chapter 2, it says, when Paul was talking, I saw that Peter was not walking in line with the gospel, right? He challenged him, right? And that's the very essence that we're called. Like any believer, if you understand the gospel, you can invite people into your life, and when you see people not walking in line with the gospel, you can challenge them, and right, and the simplicity of it. But we feel like seminarians, you don't need a seminary education in order to do that. But that's what we feel like, seminarians are the only ones that can do it. Why is that the case?
Well, I think it's a good question, man. I often, I think at the end of it, it's fear. I think it's at times it's fear of what people might say, what people might think of us. I think in the culture in which we live, where Christianity at times feels to be the least tolerated kind of world religion, religion in general, I think what that at times it kind of breeds even in us a just a hesitancy. And so I think one of the things that I've hoped to model, I think with our church is, and we often communicate in our congregation is that man, we just I'm
not laughing at you. It's just like it's funny. It's funny.
I think what I often think about in our congregation is just inviting people into relationship with me. And that's why I laugh about it. It's the simplicity of believing that the relationships that God has given you, that God wants to leverage that for you to be a blessing.
I think that a lot of times while we leave discipleship to the professionals is because we place a higher value on knowledge than we do obedience.
That's good. That's good.
And so,
let's tweet about
I don't-
a higher value
Please.
on knowledge.
Just
than
tag
we
me.
do on obedience.
Just tag me.
No,
in
I'm
that.
gonna take it.
Okay, I got you. Just
That's why I told Jorge not to leave, not to take off.
Yeah.
I
I
know,
know,
killing
man,
it, bro.
man.
Yeah.
So yeah, we
He
place
must be asleep somewhere.
we place a higher value on knowledge than we do obedience. So, people constantly don't step into discipleship relationships because what's the excuse? I don't know enough.
Yeah, that's good.
I don't
That's
know
good.
enough.
Wow.
And so when we begin to call out just the everyday simple obedience in people and really call them to, like in Acts to be a witness, not just to the deep, beautiful things of the theology of the scriptures, but also it's a witness to the deep, beautiful things that God is actively doing through the process of sanctification in the everyday Christian's life. Yeah.
That's good, man.
That's really good. Man, I don't think we got anything to say after that. That was
It's mic
that was
drop.
deep.
That's a mic drop.
That
right
was
there.
a mic drop. No, I mean, I think this idea of obedience, is we don't like that. We don't want to touch it. Because like we're in grace based, right? Gospel centered, right? And so when we talk about obedience, but that's not gospel centered.
Yeah.
To be obedient, right? It's as if obedience is at odds with grace. And so so I think that's a good word, Todd. And I appreciate it, man. So in the last minute or so, just tell us, specifically. This is the first time that the people got a chance to connect with you. Tell us a little bit about your church and how you have applied this into the life of your church.
Yeah, so we're a almost 2-year-old church plant in North St. Louis City. St. Louis is kind of divided into two hemispheres. You have the South City and North City, kind of divided by one street called Delmar. It's been coined the Delmar Divide. Kind of the South is affluence, opportunity, mostly Caucasian. To the North is a lot of vacant properties, lack of education, lack of opportunity, and mostly minority. And so we wanted to plant a church that would show the power of the gospel through diversity in a very divided area. And so we planted right there in the Delmar Divide area. And really kind of what we've seen is through having a lot of unchurched people or just people with no real framework of what it looks like to walk out just a Christian life and in the everyday is really just calling people not to principles we've learned at conferences and this and that and the other, but really just calling people just a simple study of the scriptures, deep relationship. So people are bearing their burdens with one another and challenging one another to change. Kind of like what you said earlier, that invitation to relationship and then a challenge to change. And really, as a church plant, when folks come to know Jesus or come on board, you don't have a whole lot of time to train leaders. It's like we got to be busy, gaining traction in our communities and reaching people in the neighborhood. And so leadership development takes a pretty rapid form, and you can't depend on somebody having 4 to 6 to 8 years to go through education processes. It's saying, hey, just start bearing witness to what you're obeying right now. And that really allows the power of God to be seen through the lives of people. It's not pretty, and it's not easily administratable, but it's transformative, and that's kind of what we're seeing at Apostles Church.
Good. So Apostles Church,
St. Louis.
We're St. Louis. For those of you who have people that are in St. Louis or you live in St. Louis, check it out.
Please.
What's the address? When do you meet?
We meet Sunday mornings, 10 a.m. At 1407 North Taylor Avenue.
What was it, 10 to 2, right?
I mean, you don't want to quench the spirit when it gets moving. It's that we pass the plate 10, 15 times, and so we're there till we.
No, I'm just joking. Yeah, man. Really,
10 o'clock to 11:30.
Yeah, love this brother, man. So he's
a
definitely
real
check
deal.
Check him out, man. If y'all
Real
in St.
deal.
Louis.
All right, brother. Well, I appreciate you, man. Thanks for coming on. Steve, it's always good.
All right,
man.
Go
We're
Magic.
done.
Go Magic, Lakers.